Take one. Thank you for taking time to meet with us today. Basically, we're going to go over some immediate opportunities that we find within your institution based off of the data that you gave us today. So before we begin, I just want to get everyone comfortable, relax, because this is not a sales presentation. We're just going to go over some data that you provided us, talk about immediate opportunities within our solutions, and see if there's any interest to explore solutions further. So not a sales presentation. You all can sit, relax, and make this interactive. If you have questions, raise your hand, okay? Just be engaged. So what we're gonna cover today, we're gonna talk a little bit about Velocity Solutions for those of you that weren't here during our first presentation. We're gonna talk about just the ongoing regulatory change. We're gonna go over increasing account transactions, managing overdraft, talk about repricing your checking accounts with fees that consumers are willing to pay for. We're going to talk also about acquiring new accounts and then what this all means to you, number-wise. So those that were not here during our first presentation, a little bit about who we are, what we do, been in business for over 20 years, really focusing on the retail checking side. We call ourselves checking account nerds, checking account specialists. We have over 450 clients nationwide, and we probably have almost 110 employees. And me personally, I'm based right here up and down California. So we're just the leading provider of just solutions that generate more revenue, drive new accounts, and reduce non-interest income. So here's our 10 suites of services, 10 solutions. We're not going to talk about every one in depth. We're going to focus on 3, and if we have time, we're going to talk about a 4th one. Really today's focus, what we're going to talk about is just the inactive accounts that currently sit in your primary financial institution. And where are they transacting, who are they transacting with, and can we get them to become active? And how can we get them to become active? And once they do become active, that generates 80% of your income. And by doing that, then we got to manage the heavy user service. All right, how to manage these active accounts. We're also going to talk about reprice and repositioning your product for the future. Checking accounts, we find that consumers are willing to pay for services with fees, and then not everyone's going to pay for it, but we find that half of your consumers, members, will pay for additional services. So we'll also talk about that. And then we're also going to talk about just making your pie larger, adding more quality accounts. Any questions? Sound good? Perfect. So really what I want you to understand before we begin is with everything going on with the regulatory change, with Reg E, everything going on, financial institutions are growing their revenues and partnering with us and staying in compliant all at the same time. So there's an opportunity. You may be doing everything right here, but there could potentially be an opportunity where one of our solutions helps you and you can stay compliant and grow revenue at the same time. So our first solution that we're going to address is our ARS, stands for Account Revenue Solution, and it's just increasing the account transactions. But before we talk about increasing account transactions, let's just talk about just the primary banking relationship, all right? Who are they banking with? Do they consider you their primary banking relationship? So we got to understand about how the landscape has changed, right? There was free checking, and then how do they transact? And how do they swipe their card? So 30 years ago, everybody was getting free checking. We just blasted everybody to say, open up a free checking account. I mean, and what that's done today, I'm a perfect example. I have about 3 to 4 checking accounts. One with my credit union, one with a bank, actually another one with a bank, but I only use one. So the other 2 are just sitting there, and that's the average of every FI. Over 50% of accounts just sit on the books and they're transacting somewhere else. And why is that? The reason why is because in the past, the bigger players had more advanced technology. But what's happened is the level field, you all have leveled out and everything is now almost at an equal level where we can go after these clients, consumers. And what that has done is you can see that I bet you probably have 80% of your clients liking you with that rate you excellent positive scores. But what it's also done is people are mad. They're mad at the bigger players. And what that allows us to do is to capture the unfair share market, to get you to get some of those accounts to transact over at your primary financial institution. If you think about it, if a client's mad, there's three things that can happen. They can stay mad and bank with who they have. They can go open up a new bank account, and we all know that takes a lot of time. Or else, third thing is they can just use what they currently have. They can just go in the drawer and pick up the card, debit card, and start using it. So that's taking place, and what else is taking place is we got to define on what we consider the activity that drives where a consumer really banks at. If you have the activity, you have like the activity, what's going to follow? The online bill pay is going to follow, multiple services will follow, direct deposit will follow. So activities define